Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much indeed for the organization of this event, of this Spanish event. Thank you to Marcos and all the staff that worked to organize and to prepare the agenda of this virtual event. This is the 8th event organized in the framework of project A4EUS, Action for European Solidarities. How you can imagine this event should be take place physically, but in force of the pandemic, we reshuffled all the programs and we try to organize the same activities virtually. Before to leave the floor to the speakers, just let me briefly introduce the project. Maybe some of you already knows, this is a project financed in the framework of European Europe for Citizens program. The aim of the project is to foster, to enhance, and to raise the awareness of the citizens towards all those aspects related to the immigrations, related to the solidarity, related to the refugees. To succeed in the expected results of the project, we organized 14 international events, most of them virtually. There is the overview of the events that we have already organized. Just let me share the screen. Okay. This is the list of the events that we have already organized. The first meeting, the kickoff meeting, was held in Mazara del Vallo, well known as the most Arab cities in Europe, because in Mazara del Vallo live more than 20,000 Italian, Tunisians people. After that, we moved to Malta, where we had distinguished speakers from the United Nations Refugees Organization. After that, in Poland, the speakers invited from Warsaw gave us an overview about the immigration characterizing the eastern country of Europe. Most of the immigration was from the Central Asia, from Russia, from Belarus, and from neighbor countries. Then we wished to go Montenegro, where thanks also for the great willingness and of the Montenegrin partner, we prepare a really impressive videos that after my short presentation I'm going to introduce also the representative from the Montenegrin partners that we can see together and comment together. Then the event in Greece was organized at the beginning of March, then in Albania, and now we are here virtually in Spain. During all this event, we try to underline, to stress, to highlight the situation, the peculiarity of the territories involved. So in some case, in some event, we talk more about the immigrants. In other events, we talk about the example, good practice of integration. In other events, we talk about refugees. So we try to give a general overview about the phenomenon related to the international mobility of people. In the meanwhile, we try to engage the partners and the citizens from the partners' territory with some how we call them, some interim activities, such as survey to try to test, to assess the knowledge and the perception of the citizens toward those aspects. And then we also try to bring citizens within some reality through the videos. This is the case, I already said, for the Montenegrin partner. That I see Amra online. Then we'll have, if we have questions or answers, we can directly write in the chat. I see Amra online, that I'm very happy to give her the floor, and then after that we can enjoy together the video that they produced. Now I'm stop talking. I give to Amra the privilege, and also to my colleague that is in charge to show the videos. Amra, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniela. Good morning to everybody. Sorry I was a little bit late, had some technical issues. I'm going to be short for participants that don't know. Municipality of Tuzi is a small municipality in Montenegro that is established in 2018. It is also the youngest municipality in Montenegro. With our partners Focus Europe on this project, since we have this COVID situation, we came to an idea to make a short documentary movie about our reception center here in Bozaj. At the beginning, the idea was different, but eventually at the very end, we got the best product movie that is showing for real a story of everybody who was in this kind of situation. So I need to thank the Ministry of Interior that was very cooperative when it comes to this movie. Also, besides of this documentary movie, we also made an interview with Miss Irena Rakočević, that is working in the Directorate for Admission of Foreigners, that's the international protection. I won't say anything else. I will just let you show the movies we have made, and I hope everybody will like them. And I also hope that they will be used in future projects with this thematic area, because I think that they show very well what are the obstacles and the changes in life that are migrants coping and refugees in today's time. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Amra. Just to give you an overview about the participants, we have now 30 participants, so we are very happy about the general participation. I ask now to my colleague Cesare to share the video, and we share also the link of the video, or how you already say this is the video. I hope that all of you can see and hear well the videos. Okay, Cesare, you can start. Thank you. Amra, you are free to comment if you want.
What's going on in the front line, what's going on politically in Syria today. And in the background, I'm going to have the latest combat footage.
Around the globe, there are approximately 60 million people who have been forced to leave their homes to escape war, violence, and persecution. The majority of them have become internally displaced persons, which means they have fled their homes but are still within their own countries. Others have crossed a border and sought shelter outside of their own countries. They are commonly referred to as refugees. But what exactly does that term mean? The world has known refugees for millennia, but the modern definition was drafted in the UN's 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees in response to mass persecutions and displacements of the Second World War. It defines a refugee as someone who is outside their country of nationality and is unable to return to their home country because of well-founded fears of being persecuted. That persecution may be due to their race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion, and is often related to war and violence. Today, roughly half the world's refugees are children, some of them unaccompanied by an adult, a situation that makes them especially vulnerable to child labor or sexual exploitation. Each refugee's story is different, and many must undergo dangerous journeys with uncertain outcomes. But before we get to what their journeys involve, let's clear one thing up. There's a lot of confusion regarding the difference between the terms migrant and refugee. Migrants usually refers to people who leave their country for reasons not related to persecution, such as searching for better economic opportunities or leaving drought-stricken areas in search of better circumstances. There are many people around the world who have been displaced because of natural disasters, food insecurities, and other hardships. But international law, rightly or wrongly, only recognizes those fleeing conflict and violence as refugees. So what happens when someone flees their country? Most refugee journeys are long and perilous, with limited access to shelter, water, or food. Since the departure can be sudden and unexpected, belongings might be left behind, and people who are evading conflict often do not have the required documents like visas to board airplanes and legally enter other countries. Financial and political factors can also prevent them from traveling by standard routes. This means they can usually only travel by land or sea and may need to entrust their lives to smugglers to help them cross borders. Whereas some people seek safety with their families, others attempt passage alone and leave their loved ones behind with the hopes of being reunited later. This separation can be traumatic and unbearably long. While more than half the world's refugees are in cities, sometimes the first stop for a person fleeing conflict is a refugee camp, usually run by the United Nations Refugee Agency or local governments. Refugee camps are intended to be temporary structures, offering short-term shelter until inhabitants can safely return home, be integrated to the host country, or resettle in another country. But resettlement and long-term integration options are often limited. So many refugees are left with no choice but to remain in camps for years and sometimes even decades. If you go back in your own family history, chances are you will discover that at a certain point, your ancestors were forced from their homes, either escaping a war or fleeing discrimination and persecution. It would be good of us to remember their stories when we hear of refugees currently displaced, searching for a new home.
Okay, this is the work done from the Montenegrin partners. It's a really impressive video, very well prepared. I also shared the link to the video on YouTube, so you can also see again, or you can also disseminate. I don't know if Amra, you can add something.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I'm very proud of the movie that we produced. Especially, I'm very grateful to the guys that made this movie. You could have seen two guys on the movie acting. They're not professional actors. They're the guys that will produce this movie. So they make these kind of movies often, and I think they did a good job. Also, you could have seen on the movie the railway Podgorica Tuzli Tirana. That's the railway that connects the capital city of Montenegro, then comes to Tuzi in our municipality, and it ends in Tirana, the capital city of Albania. The railway was built in time of Yugoslavia. Unfortunately, the railway is not functional at this time, but there are projects with the Western Balkans Fund in order to reconstruct this railway. So I really hope that the partners like the movie. It was something different, didn't have a lot of data, but could give a picture of a life of one refugee or migrant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amre. I'm sure that all the participants appreciated, even because you already you say there aren't data, but is give the real and in a very simple way the real travel of the refugees across Balkans. So we are very happy to contribute to this movie through the project. Thank you again. Thank you. Already said, you see the link, the YouTube link where you can find the video. And now I leave the floor to Selina, that is the host of the event. She can introduce the speakers invited. Selina, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much, Daniele. Bueno, first I'm going to say a little bit about Pasos Solidarios, our organization. Pasos Solidarios is a social organization through which we channel our social action. Since 2012, we have transferred our experience and knowledge to society. We are committed to networking in order to create synergies between different social agents. We work with companies, NGOs, public organizations in Spain, all around Spain, and also in a European and international level. We coordinate different networks, Voluntare, that is a network of companies and NGOs. Also, we are part of Impact 2030, that is our organization to promote corporate volunteering and SDGs. We are in the board of directors of Volunteer Europe. We participate in Points of Light, in Global Pro Bono Network, and in IAVE. We are experts in corporate volunteering with social impact and skills development. We think that collaborating, we learn, we share, and we can improve also. So this is why when we were invited to join this European project, we jumped on board right away, because it's our spirit to collaborate and to think together in order to make a great impact. No more about us. Now I'm going to present the panelists that are going to be speaking and are going to be reflecting with us today. We have gathered here different voices because we think that to talk about migration, we have to listen different voices and different kind of organizations. So here today we have Farhana Mahamoud Ditch. Then Farhana, you can tell me if I pronounce it correctly. She's vice president of the Association of African Women in the Canary Islands. We have here also Griselda Beresiartu. She is responsible of the Department of Immigration and Refugee from the Barcelona Actua Foundation. Also today we're going to listen to Solomon Nueke. He's a student of Barcelona Actua Foundation. He was taken for the shelter program and now is currently working as a security staff of one of the shelter hostels managed by this foundation. And in the second part of the session, we will be joined by Edianga Herman Jones Ndoli. He's a writer that seeks to inspire positive change regarding issues such as migration and racism. So we're going to talk about different perspectives. But now I'm going to ask the speakers to tell us a little bit more about themselves and also about their work. So Grisela, before if you can talk about Barcelona Actua Foundation, and you can also introduce us a little bit to the audience about the situation of the migrant people in Spain currently. So I give you the voice now.
Thank you, Celina. Well, it's a pleasure to be with here this morning. It is always challenging to have a couple of minutes to talk about one's passion and one's work. Of course, for me, it is the topic of migration. As Celina introduced you, I am responsible for all the projects that we have in migration within a local NGO in Barcelona. It's actually a foundation called Barcelona Actua. And I am myself from Barcelona, and it's very special for me to be able to work in this kind of project here because I spent 10 years outside of Barcelona developing my studies and working in humanitarian work outside of Spain, managing a refugee camp in Germany and being exposed to all sorts of pain and injustices that are brought by the problem of war, conflict, poverty, and inequalities within our societies. And since the past 3 years, I've had the opportunity to develop the project in Barcelona. And before talking to you about Barcelona Actua, I don't see the speakers. It's always strange to be so far and so virtual from the people we're talking to. But I assume you are not in Spain, you are not in Barcelona, and thus you do not have to be necessarily acquainted with the reality here. I work with asylum seekers, with underage migrants that come here unaccompanied, and with humanitarian immigrants. This is mainly a distinction that we make by the age of the people that arrive here and the kind of process that they are going to have to go through because they don't have the official papers to enter Spain as a legal citizen or to migrate, how most of us here in this meeting would do with our passport and with even no need for a visa, right? Their situation, because of where they come from, is completely different. So traditionally, Spain, because of her geographical position, is a country of arrival. We have a big coast that, which is close to Africa. And however, if we look back, Spain hasn't been traditionally a country of stay. It's been more a country of pass for these migrants that arrived, especially from Africa. It is a different story with migrants that come from South America. Because of the language, Spain has been traditionally a country of arrival. However, I'm not going to go back in the centuries. I'm going to talk to you about the last years, and so that you can make yourself an idea of the scope of the humanitarian crisis that we are experiencing in Spain. As I told you, we're working with asylum seekers, humanitarian immigrants, and underage migrants. I'm going to explain to you the differences in the process that they have to face. But so that you make an idea of the numbers, in 2017, we have 31,000 recorded amount of people that asked for asylum in Spain. This number in 2018 increased to 55,800. And in 2019, it amounted 117,800. So you can see an exponential growth over the lapse of 3 years. Spain has managed this increase in the amount of people asking for asylum in a terrible way, because we haven't had the infrastructure to deal with the amount of people arriving to Spain that had no money, no shelter, no connections, and no legal possibilities to develop any kind of economic activity to sustain themselves. On the other side, because also of Spain's geographical position and the cities that Spain has in African territory, mainly Ceuta and Melilla, we have a large amount of underage unaccompanied migrants that arrive to Spain, not only through the boats, but also because they cross the border in Africa, right, where two cities belong to Spain. They get into Spanish soil and they start the process of unaccompanied migration. These numbers have also increased exponentially. In 2016, we had 4,000 unaccompanied migrants arriving to Spain. In 2018 and 2019, these figures increased to 13,000. Numbers are a very abstract thing, and it is difficult to empathize with them. I'm very happy that Solomon is today here with us. He is, well, you will be able to talk to him, and I think his testimony is very interesting because he will make you see and feel what I will try to convey you with figures and with projects. But with this reality, the fact is that a huge amount of people arrive to Spain and are in a very vulnerable condition and are living on the street, because by arriving to Spain and asking for asylum, as Solomon will explain, he is Nigerian, he arrived here asking for asylum. There are different phases through which you have to go through. One is called phase 0, phase 1, phase 2. When you're in phase 0, you still haven't been allocated to any facility that will support you through your asylum process. That means that you might be living on the street for a year or for a year and a half. On the other side, we have the drama of the unaccompanied migrants, because underaged, sorry, because a much bigger amount of underaged arrived to Spain. There were no facilities to host them. So the government took a very short-sighted solution of opening emergency facilities to host the underaged. And the policy was, when they become 18, they are expelled to the streets. That means that we have more than 2,000 18 and 19-year-old boys living in Barcelona on the streets, because there is a failed public system that, after having them in their facilities, literally throw them away to the streets. If you have 10 underaged under custody, unaccompanied migrants, Spain has foreseen places for when they are 18, 19, 20, and 21 for about 4 of them. What do we do with the other 6, right? They are not returned back to their countries and to their families, and they are left astray literally on the street. So later we can go into questions. I don't want to go on for a long time and take time from the other speakers. I'm going to tell you briefly that Barcelona Actua is a private foundation. It does not depend from the government, and what it aims is at with volunteers from the city to develop projects that will help the most vulnerable. In Barcelona Actua in 2018, we realized the amount of migrants that were living on the street with not even access to language courses. So we started with a project called Landing Barcelona. What we realized is that they were completely disconnected from the social networks, right? They were completely isolated, no possibility to meet any locals and no possibility to improve their situation. Solomon started in Landing Barcelona when he asked for asylum, and he had actually no place to live at the time. And what we were doing is offering Spanish classes so that he could get in contact with volunteers, offering daily activities like cooking, football, computer activities, offering him a referent, right? That is a volunteer that we train in order to accompany him on a one-to-one basis. And what we've been working is on radically increasing the social network, because by making Solomon and taking him out of the 117,000 people that asked for asylum in Spain and have no real solution, right? And are left in a legal limbo, in an existential limbo. What we are trying to do through the organization is to give these people a name, an entity, and a connection to the local population that will transform their stories from numbers to real lives and can support them to really get into the social tissue while making political pressure. When we started, and I'm going to finish there, and then we will continue with other issues. When we started with Solomon, we had a lot of people living on the street and we had no solution for them. Today, I'm very happy to say that because of the involvement of civil society and volunteers and the pressure, we have 3 centers that we own right now, where we host more than 90 people that we have taken directly from the streets in a very vulnerable situation. So I'm very happy to share the project with you this morning, and I give the floor back to Selena.
Thank you, Griselda. Afterwards, if you can write in the chat the website of Barcelona Actua, so if somebody wants to check your work out, it would be very interesting. And now I give the voice to Farhana Mahamoudit from the Association of the Canary Islands. And so you can, if you could, Farhana, please tell us about yourself a little bit and about the work you do in the association. We would be happy to listen.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the invitation and congratulate the team for organize this event. It's a real pleasure to share with you and talk about this topic. I think it's very important and necessary. So I want to talk about AMAC, Asociación de Mujeres Africanas en Canarias. The idea of creating an association of African women was born out of the need to speak for ourselves. It's very important for us to tell our stories, and who is better than us to express who we are, what we need, and what we can achieve to and contribute to this to society. It's mainly made up of women of different countries, Western Sahara, Senegal, Morocco, Algeria, etc. But not only African, we have the support of members who are Canary women or from other places, because for us it's very important that not forget that one of the objectives of the is to achieve the integration of African women in society. So we always say that Africa is very big. There is a lot of variety. So we always say that the idea is not to talk about African women in general, but about African women in union is very, very important. At the question of what are the objectives of Association of African Women in Canary Island? Well, there are the integration of the migrants population in Canary Island, in particular of African women, raising awareness about African women and their cultures, their strengths, weakness, challenge, etc. The education and training of the migrant population in Canary Island, in particular of African women. For us, it's very important sorority, that is solidarity and common work between women who share common goals. And finally, for us, it's very important international cooperation to support the development of the most disadvantaged countries. Is very important for us. And yes. I'm sorry. And
we listen.
Yeah. And it's what we can say about this association of African women here in Canary Island.
Thank you very much, Farhana. And your phrase that says, "Who better than us to say what we need, what we do, and what we are, who we are." So with this phrase that you told us, I'm going to introduce to Solomon. Solomon Nueke, that is a student from the Fundación Barcelona Actua, because we think it's really important to understand, as Gisela also was saying, not only like the projects about people in general, but about people that have a voice and that can express what they need, what their experience was. So Solomon, if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, introduce us, tell us a little bit about how you arrived to Barcelona. I give you the...
Hello, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and speaking in this platform because it's a very nice, organized platform. At least it gives people like us to voice out and speak to different people from different places. Well, I'll start by saying my name. My name is Mweke Solomon. I'm 30 years old and I'm from the Republic of Biafra, which is uh, which is known as the Igbo tribe in Nigeria. Is one of the major tribe amongst the 370 tribes we have in Nigeria. Well, I should say, I am actually right here in Barcelona, and before I left Nigeria, though, I was working in the Nigerian military. I'm an ex-military in Nigerian soldier, and also I'm also a supervisor of electricity security in Nigeria Limited. And also I'm a BSc holder in electrical engineering, also a personal trainer, and usually also recently I'm in Barcelona right now. Recently I'm working as a security in Backstation, and also I am taking a course on web development programs in a boot camp called Factory F5. So it's a great privilege to have this platform, and also the should I say the to be in Barcelona Actua, and also to have the course I'm actually doing right now. Well, more about myself. I have not much thing to say about myself other than to talk about my origin and where I'm from and my tribe, my age, and what I was doing before I left, which is the security and the military and the personal training stuff. Well, if we should talk about my personality, I'm just kind of person that I love sport a lot, and I like hiking the mountain. I like doing a lot of things that demand the use of energy, you know. So that is it about me. I don't know if there is any other explanation I would like to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon, for telling us about yourself. And we will continue talking throughout the morning. So we'll be asking you some questions later also. So now I want to ask a question to Farhana. When talking about migration, Canarias, the Canary Islands, is one of the hotspots in Spain. So what can you tell us about the situation and the main challenges that you face in the islands? What that you have detected and what you talk with in your association about these challenges?
Yeah. We always say that the last year is the year of the COVID pandemic, no? But here in Canary, we also go down in the history of Canary Island as the year in which an institutional crisis of lack of foresight with decapitalized reception system and an erroneous policy of managing the arrivals of people migrants. This situation turned into a humanitarian crisis with thousands and thousands of people in subhuman condition accumulated in a port dock. That is the truth. But now we try and it could also go down in history as the year in which that as a result of these errors, the necessary change we are promoted, so that this situation is not repeated, and the foundations are laid for a more human and strategic migratory model from which both the people who migrate and the host society benefit. The first has already happened, and the second, we still have time to achieve it. So I think that the best thing that we can do is just try to do better, because it's really a drastic situation.
Thank you very much for your insight. Well, regarding these challenges that Farhana was saying, I don't know, Griselda, if you could tell us what about Barcelona compared to the situation in the Canary Islands that Farhana is describing? Do you see some differences? Do you see some specific challenges?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think the situation in the Canary Islands is obviously dramatic because it's the moment of arrival and it's the moment when people get there without having anything. And they are probably, I haven't seen it directly, but I've heard testimonies, but they are probably living in infrahumane situations where there are not enough facilities, conditions. Barcelona is one of the main cities where most migrants that arrive by boat want to come as a destination, the ones that decide to stay in Spain. So Madrid and Barcelona, because they are the two biggest cities, also because they think that's the place where they are going to have the most opportunities, and because most of them are young, and young people are also attracted to the cities because they live their countries, many of them coming from rural areas. I'm making here generalizations, but because of this, Barcelona is a pole of attraction. I want to make a distinction. As I told you before, in 2019, we had 117,000 people in Spain asking for asylum. We had 12,000 underage unaccompanied migrants arriving to Spain. The amount of people that arrived to Spain by boat were 26,000 in 2019 and 37,000 in 2020, okay? That means that the majority of asylum seekers arrived to Spain by air, and because most of asylum seekers are from Venezuela, from Colombia, from El Salvador, the ones that enter into the process of asking for asylum, not because they need it more than the ones that arrive by boat, but because they are more informed, more acquainted with the migration processes once they reach Spain, and also because they know the language. The challenge is that the amount of people that we are receiving by boats from Africa that arrive to the Canary Islands and that later arrive to Barcelona, most of them are people from Morocco or from Algeria, from the Maghreb region, or from Sub-Saharan Africa. As I said, very young, and with no networks and no social connections, and they come to Barcelona to build a life. We are finding here right now a staggering amount of very young homeless people, and the situation is devastating because there is a clear vulneration of their human rights. As I told you before, the challenge that I see in Barcelona right now is twofold. It is mainly from the people that asked for asylum and are going to be rejected, because Spain has a very inclusive system of asylum in which anyone can ask for asylum. They enter the process, they receive a temporary NIE, Número de Identificación de Extranjero, which is like a temporary ID with which they can work. But 2/3 of the people that ask for asylum are going to be denied. That means that they are going to lose their work permission and they are going to become irregular. They are not going to be deported, but they are not going to be allowed to work. So That's challenge number one, and it is huge regarding the numbers that we are seeing here from people that are asking for asylum that have been accepted into TRAMIT and that will be denied by the end of the story. And the second challenge is the amount of underage migrants that are turning 18, are 18, 19, 20, and have absolutely no documentation, because in Spain, when you are in a center as an underage, it doesn't mean that you automatically come out of it with a document that allows you to work in Spain. Not at all. If you are lucky and you've come when you're 16 and you've had enough time to go through the paper process, once you turn 18, you come out of the center with a temporary permit to live in Spain, which does not allow you to work in Spain. In order to work in Spain, you need to go through an administrative process showing that you have a job offer for 1 year, 40 hours a week, right? That means that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of 18, 19, 20-year-old boys in a terribly vulnerable situation, living on the streets, having sicknesses that had been eradicated in Spain, derived from poverty, such as sarna. I don't know the name for sarna in English, but it's this kind of skin itching problem that you get out of extreme unhygienic situations. No, these young boys are facing sexual exploitation, right? Because they're very vulnerable and they don't have money and they are very young. These are young adults that are consuming toxic substances in order to forget their pain, right? They are more vulnerable to having to go to criminality in order to sustain their lives. So it is a dramatic situation, a vulnerability of, I would say, the right of childs. I have an 18-year-old sister, and according to the Spanish law, if she was an underage migrant, she would be on the street, right? Because she would be considered an adult, and there would be no resources for her. I still see her as a child, a young adult. So yeah, I hope I've answered your question. The challenge is big.
Yes, totally. Thank you. And as for now, we see that the reality in Canary Islands is the first place where the migrant people arrive, and they have like these most humanitarian challenges and this devastating situation that Farhana was talking about. And this second phase, when they arrive to the final city where they want to establish, and all the difficulties to start their own lives. And I would like to talk about the gap in the middle, no? So maybe Farhana, you could tell us about what are the legal aspects that a migrant person has to tackle in order to go from the Canary Islands to go into, for example, Barcelona or to another city. What are the first moves legally talking about that the migrant people have to consider and have to take into account? What is this process?
Yeah, it's very, very, very difficult. First of all, I want to say that all this situation has caused a repeated violation of our own legality. For example, arrested, deprivation of liberty without legal protection, lack of legal assistance to migrants, and as a cause of all of this, a lack of identification and attention to groups in situation of extreme vulnerability that deserve special protection and care, like, for example, children that travel alone, potential victim of trafficking, of possibility application for international protection, among others, no? As the legal, that person has a return order. The only possibility of paralyzing that return order is through an application for international protection. But not everyone has the possibility of accessing to this option, since you have to prove it during that application process, a drastic situation and persecution in the country of origin for reasons, for example, like race, sexual orientation, etc. The other option is to get that person to stay in the country and, like I say, just hide. No, that is if that person stay, for example, for 3 years in a row living in Spain. After those 3 years, they have the possibility of requesting, no, the residencia de arraigo. But I have to say that it's not easy. Like Griselda, I think Griselda say, for example, that person have to proving a full-time employment contract, for example, and it's very, very difficult to get one, no? And let's not forget the difficult fact of living in a different country for 3 years in a row without being able to work. It's very, very, very difficult. So the situation is drastic.
Thank you very much. And well, we were talking with Farhan and Griselda. They are explaining more in a legal way what are the challenges. But I would like to ask you, Solomon, in your personal experience, what were your main challenges when you arrived to Spain?
Well, thank you for giving me the room again. Start by saying the main challenges I faced actually when I arrived in Spain here was number one is the language barrier, which I was finding in Spanish a lot, and I find it very difficult to relate to the people, and also the accommodation. You know, where it happens when I arrived in Spain, I had to seek for a shelter, and when I went to the place, they actually give immigrant shelters to actually have a good shelter. So okay, to have a shelter. They told me no, that they don't think they have a space for me, and I have to be on the street for a complete 1 year. And I was like, no, I just came here. I'm not used to the weather here. It's a lot of cold and this and that. But none of them cared. Again, was the lack of financial assistance, which you don't have a shelter. Nobody cares about you. Even when you try to make your story with a good line there, nobody wants to know. They just stick on the rules and the laws that this is how you have to follow it. There is no shelter, and we don't have any. You have to be on the street for complete 1 good year, and it was very difficult for me. I had to, seek for a shelter by, contacting myself with a friend. I actually met here with a church who gave me an accommodation, you know. And secondly is the lack of job, when you migrated to a new place and have no job, no family, no financial assistance, it's very difficult for you to sustain, to make a good living out of it. You don't have money to support yourself in whatever you do, to buy whatever you want to buy. When you go out there to look for job as well, it's very difficult because you don't have any documentation that will provide a job for you, and you are still, uh, should I say, illegal somehow because you yet not have a proper documentation. So these are actually the problems I faced. Another one was inadequate care, about the psychological care about people that arrive here like me. That was a time is a challenges, all the trauma I passed through when I was coming here. I was actually at the point, which it was never planned to be here. So I'm having some kind of psychological effect, like things are not going well. I'm in a mess, and how am I gonna deal with this shit? All these things was actually a challenge for me, but I thank God that I was able to supersede it, and I kept going. And another challenges was, racism and criticism. People keep, criticizing and giving a kind of racist comments about you based on your color of your skin. When I was in Africa, people talking about racism. I only know racism through movie, like watching movie. I heard about racism, but when I came to Spain here, actually, it was a living reality that I had to, see it happening to me. Like you get into the public transport, people standing up for you, sitting down, people grabbing your bags, if you're about to rob them or something like that. You walk in and people give a way for you. You walk, you look like a suspect. Like me, I'm athletic. I like bodybuilding, and when I came here, I was so big, and although I'm on, I was so big that people were like, when I walk on the street, they tell me, oh, you've taken a lot of drugs, you've taken a lot of steroids. I said, no, this is my structure, and it actually affected me in a negative way. That at the point I wasn't feeling so proud about my bodybuilding appearance, that I had to do more cardio and stop doing a lot of exercise. And the the climate change is actually affected me. Though I was born in the northern part of Nigeria, which the points in the Hamatan, we have a nice cold weather where we have a lot of um, dew falling down from the mountains. And I was thinking, oh, since I'm here, I'm used to cold weather. But when I was the first 2 weeks I passed on the street was so very severe. I was very serious about that. I couldn't bear it anymore. That I had to make every contact to make sure that I have a shelter. I was accommodated in a church where I stayed for 2 years. These are the challenges I actually face. And another one was inadequate care, which I said, uh, concerning the accommodation, is inadequate care. Like when I went to meet, there is an association called Red Cross, and they told me they have a lot of people, and they don't have anything for me, and there's no plan for me. So I felt so bad that they had to refer me to a lot of organizations, which I went. The same thing was still happening, and I went to the police as well to give me assistance. The something is still happening, no space, and there's no place for me. And I found it very difficult. And I'm saying that the care they showed to me was inadequate. So all what they showed me was where I'm going to get some daily meals, and take my shower and still go back to the street, which I'm not used, and I'm not good at. You know, remembering your position, what you are doing, your job, and what you have in your country before migrating here, it gives you a kind of rethink, and also a psychological mental problem, something like that. So these are the major challenges I actually face when I arrive here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Solomon, for sharing with us all of this. And I would like to speak to you both, to Solomon and to Griselda, because actually, like you work together in overcoming these kind of challenges that you've talked about, no, the shelter, the difficult to relate to people, the accommodation. How did you overcome this? And a little bit we know about, because Griselda already told us that with the foundation they have a lot of programs that help. But I want to ask you from your point of view now, socially, the society, I mean, there are people that helped, and I think there are, like Griselda, like the foundation. What were the things that helped you to overcome these challenges? I'm sure there are challenges that are still there, but as you told us when you presented it yourself, you are in a different position now. You have a job, you have a place to live. So what helped you during this process?
Well, thank you very It's a nice question. Well, I should say I Barcelona Actua has actually brought a very large transformation in my life, and I always say to people, and I've always recommended my friends, look at if you want a social help, a social assistance, I recommend you to go to Barcelona Actua. They give a rapid response to people, like a very critical situation. I met Barcelona Actua, you know, when they were in when they were giving us classes, Spanish classes, and they know my story, and I told them, oh, I'm living in a church, and the church actually doesn't have a place. It's just like, okay, after service we have to bring down a mattress and lie down. In the morning we have to pack it, we have to leave and go and look for something doing. You don't have to be in there. So when I meet Barcelona, I actually begin to have my Spanish classes, in activities. I was registering in a gym where I feel free, where I learn boxing, a lot of cardio exercises. So all those things help to alleviate the stress I have thinking negatively, help me to grow mentally and also be very strong in my situation. Because without those activities, I believe I wouldn't be here today, because those actually help me a lot. Committing yourself to different activities help you to forget and at least make you relax a little bit, because when you are idle doing nothing, thinking about a lot of things, you get messed up in upstairs, like your mind goes off. So Barcelona actually offered me a lot of like cooking activities, gave me a free gym, also a theater class where I do theater. Also it contacted me with a lot of friends, gave me a personal friend, a personal guide, like that take me around the city. He speaks English as well. He speaks Spanish, so it's like we're like a family right now. Like, and he's the person that actually registered my resident in his house. Okay, I'm actually living with you, and he accepted, and we did the registration. So these are the friends that have been putting positive values in my life, and with the help of Barcelona Actua and also Griselda as well as a person, I contacted her, and most of the times we speak, tell me, okay. When I was in the church, I was about to leave the church. I said to Griselda, look at, I think my time in the church has expired. Though when I was in the church, I was a Sunday school teacher. I was teaching in the Sunday school services, and also, but when I was about to leave, I told Griselda, look at, I'm about to leave the church, and I don't have enough money to rent an apartment. I don't have a job. That my job, the present job I was working, the last job I was working ended up because of the COVID, and it was a washing job. It was a public industrial cleaning job I was doing just to have some money on me to take care of my financial situation. So, and she said, oh, there is no job for now. But within a peak of 2 weeks, she called me that they have a job for me, and it's a security job. If I would like to work, I said, you don't have to ask me if I would like to work. That is, I'm very glad to work as a security. So at least I have a lot of experiences in that field, which have been working when I was in my country, and the job was offered to me, and also I was attending. I'm working recently as a security also, and also going to the school. You understand? A school called Factoria F5, which is offering us a web development class, how to create a web page, and other stuff. We have to learn about job seeking and how to manage a business as well. So these are the things that have helped me to overcome the situation I have found myself, and also to mind my own business as well. Because when you try to, look or to make meaning in what people say about you, you definitely uh, start to lose more values about yourself. So minding your business as well, minding my business as well, has also helped me. And also the social part of it is also very important. That has helped me, at the point of time, because I don't speak Spanish, I find it very difficult to speak to people and to relate. But the teachings I got from Barcelona Actua and other things, activities made me to be open and also be associating with people, helped me to be outspoken at least, make some friends, take me around and build and introduce me to a lot of activities like the school and other things, which are actually is making me who I am today. At least also where I'm living right now, Barcelona Actua, the foundation of where I'm actually staying right now, because the cost of house here in Spain is very, very expensive. So the provision was made by Barcelona Actua, where I'm actually living. They gave me a job, gave me an accommodation, and also in my job I can study. It's a very, very, very. I just love it that way. I can study. And I can actually in the morning go to school. I'm a boss in my job. They trusted me with this job, and nobody controls me. They tell me what to do, and I deliver the job. And nobody had to say do this, do that, but they had to tell me, look at what I want you to do, and I do it. Nobody tells me how to do it, and that is a very good privilege. And I'm thanking Barcelona because it's a trust they actually embedded on me, and they believe in me, and I'm actually saying thank you to them actually, because actually delivering what they actually bestowed upon me. So this is actually how I'm actually moving towards the challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah.
Elena, may
Yes,
I add
Griselda.
or remark
Of course.
something that that
Yes.
Solomon reminded me of, and I always get really happy when we have the chance to because Solomon is one of the oldest students for me, in the organization. We started many years ago, and I've seen him through all these changes, and it's a personal satisfaction and happiness to see him happy as well. But what he brought up is very important, which is the mental health. We forget that when people arrive here, it's not only the humanitarian aspect of food and shelter, which is critical for sure, but in order for them to thrive and to rebuild their lives, the mental health aspect is very important. And as isolation and the lack of activities kills the spirit from within and really prevents them from unfolding and from becoming who they can really be. And I think that is something that as host societies, we really have to understand, because it is very easy to fall into generalizations that, they are good for nothing, or they don't know how to do things, or they come with a different culture. No, there's other people that say, oh, it's fantastic, they bring diversity. But the fact is that if you have people under stress with no possibility to release that stress and to socialize like a human being, then there is no possibility for a constructive present and a constructive future. They can't unfold themselves. And of course, they can't participate in our society, which makes the marginalization and the stereotypes and the criticism against migration ever so harder. So Solomon reminded me of that aspect, which I think is really, really important.
Thank you very much, Griselda, and it's a very good moment that we're speaking about this, about not only the legal aspect and the aspect more related to the seek of a job and the seek of the conditions for a living, but also the personal aspect, the social aspect, the need, as Solomon was saying, the need of trust, of making friends, of recovering confidence after this very hard situation of leaving your country, having a different climate, a different living your country, your family, your things. And talking about this, we're going to introduce now to Dianga Jones, that is here today with us. He, as we said in the beginning, he's a writer, and he is a very interesting person to listen to. He inspired us about to reflect about migration, about racism, and to think a little bit deeper on how migrant people are seen today, and to reflect the origin of the conflicts related to migration in Europe, and particularly in Spain. So, Ediana, if you can talk a little bit, first introduce a little bit yourself, and then tell us about your opinions about migration. We don't hear you, you're muted. Let's see if you can unmute. Oh, okay, there. Yeah.
Hello?
John, I think you can speak
Great.
now.
Great. Can you hear me
Yeah.
now? Okay. Thanks. Thanks for all. So, yeah, my name is Herman, or Eganga Jones. Selena said. I'm a writer. I wrote two books, two novels. Those two of those novels are related to the background experience of my parents as immigrants. They came from Equatorial Guinea a long time ago. They are settled in Spain, so for more than 30 years. So one of the things that motivate me to write is the how my parents or my family struggled in Spain to raise a family, and then also my bond with Africa, and then my relatives in Africa. So I'm trying to build this connection between Europe and Africa. So that's my main purpose in my work. So yeah, that's a little introduction what I'm trying to do when I'm writing. So something else, or we start with the first question. Helena?
Yes, the question was about your point of view regarding the origins of migration, and how do you believe that the people look at migrants, if there are any preconceived ideas or about migration, and what is your opinion about that?
First, I think that Europe has experience about migration for years, decades, and centuries. So we should look at Europe as a consequence of migration. So migration is not something like it happened right now with Africa, Latin America, and other countries. It's something that saved Europe for a long time. So there are many influences in Europe across from Asia, Africa, and different cultures that fit Europe. And then I think the main thing that we are right now in this situation is because after several things that happened, like the Second World War or other things that the Europe struggled to survive, people started to survive here. They probably in Europe they lost what it means to be an immigrant, what it means to struggle to survive, what it means to struggle to build a life, and then now immigrants is like a consequence of something like illegal, like something that is not it cannot be a law or just bureaucratic. So that if you go back in the time, and then we see Europeans struggle to survive or struggle to find a better way, it was a consequence. Europe is a fact of immigration. Europe is a fact of the people that are trying to build a better life, and we cannot forget that.
So right now, I think Europe is not looking at that because now European Union has built after the Second World War the fear of the war between Europeans and the countries, and then now we are looking at the immigration like something that could be a problem, like it's something like it should be go as a legal or illegal. I think that's a euro. That it cannot be like that. So we are human beings. We have needs. We have a lot of things. Life is complex, and then how the life is shaping along through the history, how the human beings are built this path in the history to coexistence is the big thing we should tackle. We should try to find a way to coexist between us, and then immigration is not the problem. It's just something that naturally has been with us from the beginning. So this, I think, Europe could be it could be a problem about values. What it means to be European, what it means, what Europe wants to offer as a place to live and to stay with people from different the religions, different cultures. What is Europe for that? Because if you go back in times again, years ago, when the European Union was built because the fear to have war between them. So they struggle to find the values to, okay, we are Europeans, we should be united. We should build something to create like a peace for us, for everyone. So these values, this strength for Europeans makes Europe for over decades without war, we have any problem. But now, right now, there are some interests between the countries, there are interests between people and individuals that they don't understand what is the value to coexistence. And the coexistence between human beings and then different religions or different cultures should be the main objective of any society. We should find these values to understand what is important. And the most important is protect the life of the people. And then I think immigration, when you see people who is trying to cross the Mediterranean, and they did this even with the risk to lose their lives, they are pointing with the finger and they're telling us something is wrong with that. And then we should look at this carefully because the system is wrong at some point.
Thank you. It's very interesting what you're talking about, and my next question is we're talking about migration from a legal or illegal point of view. We have lost the values, we have lost the humanitarian point of view. So how do you think we can change this storytelling about migration into a more positive, into a more inclusive one? You have mentioned the values that the European Union has for the inside. So how can we change this storytelling that is not only for the inside and that is more inclusive?
I think, in my point of view, there are two things. For me, it's curious. If you look at the history, it's curious that the Europeans have been fighting each other for centuries. You know, it's like a French against Spanish, Spanish against English, and then Germany or Italian. So we have in Europe, we have a history of thousands of years fighting each other. But right now, after several wars, if you look at these countries, Spain, England, Germany, they don't call enemies anymore. They call friends. So it's curious, you know, is that these people who have been fighting for a long time now, they are friends. They have a relationship. This is a consequence of war. War creates this relationship between countries in Europe. And this consequence of war create a balance, like an equal between the countries. But if you look at those countries that have been don't have wars between Europe, for example, the continent between Africa and Europe, They didn't have like a big fighting, I mean, like a big fight of countries for centuries. How they call it? They are not friends. They are dominate. So we are still living in a perception of the world where Western world is like dominates the other. We still treating these countries as a dominational. So we should try to tackle, we should try to change the way the relationships have been created for the probably the five centuries, because there is a structure about that. There is a structure in politics and economic where there are countries that are in the top, others are dominated. So in that way, we should try to find what kind of global world we are working or we are trying to build, what kind of relationships we are trying to build with individuals and other countries. And we still in this kind of relationships between countries that are dominating others. And then as individuals, also we have a responsibility to understand that our position, we are in Europe or whatever, how we want to approach to people from other countries. It's not just to say, okay, I'm from Europe, I have everything, so I want to help these people because they suffer. That is not the position you can help someone, because there is a prejudice. There is a prejudice because you can understand how people from these countries cross the Mediterranean and take the risk for their lives. Most of the people think, okay, these people suffer a lot. They don't have nothing or anything. That is not true. The truth is that the people who do that effort and they even give their lives for a purpose like this one. They have a commitment with life. When I say a commitment with life, I mean they are really engaged with the idea to improve themselves, to improve their societies, where in Africa or Europe. No one who take the risk to give their lives for a purpose has a strong commitment. And this commitment is not just a failure, it's a commitment to improve. It's a commitment to overcome any situation. We should take these immigrants like people that have a really commitment to life and improve. And I think we are not taking in consideration this. We are just taking consideration that these people, these poor people without anything on their pockets, poor people that they just escaping for the miserable life. They don't have anything to offer. We should give them something. That is the position that Europe have right now, individuals also. We are not able to help them because we cannot understand them. We don't have the mentality of the probably our grandfathers in Europe when they go to one country to another to find a better place. We are really comfortable in Europe, even if the things are not really comfortable, like the last two crises, even now with the coronavirus. Many of the people, they are not really, they're not going to take the position to move to other country. They prefer to just to wait, the things are going to be better. And then our mentality is not, we don't have kind of mentality to approach that kind of people that doing this kind of efforts. So the only thing Europe could do right now is make the things easier to them, easier in a way they could achieve something better. Because if you look at those people who go to Europe without any help, even they don't know the language, they don't have probably money, or they don't have the right to work because they don't have the what it means papers or whatever. I see people that after 3-4 years they are capable to learn the language, to speak fluent, to find a job, even to create a business, go back to Africa, build something, I don't know, a house for their parents. That's strength, that commitment is something like it's very valuable, and we should take in consideration because this kind of people is amazing. So we should take these people as an example, and we should take these people as they're pointing with their finger and saying this is no good. Could you imagine, for example, with the civil rights movement in United States, when people say immigration is illegal or legal, and then you just follow the rules? What means that? Because if, for example, from the Afro Americans, if they just follow the rule in that moment when the civil rights movement, they cannot say, okay, this is no bad. So Martin Luther King, another activists, they say, okay, this is no good. We shouldn't follow the rules because this is no good. And then if you follow the rules, how do you know that is okay or is right? I don't know if you can explain me. Yeah. So they're trying to say us what is wrong. I think immigration never is illegal, and people cannot be illegal. And when you say someone is illegal, we're trying to say that people is not a human being.
Thank you. Laura.